Good morning and welcome to AMA Puget Sound's Coffee Talk series. We are live on Thursdays at 11 a.m., maybe not every Thursday. We're in the new year, we're in 2022, and we're going to jump right in to the new year with a new concept. And joining me today is Benjamin Gold. Hello.
Hello.
How are you
Hi.
today, Ben?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fantastic. I'm fantastic. We were just talking before we went live about the wonderful winter weather that the Seattle-Tacoma, well, just Washington got over the last couple of weeks. It's at least in our area, it's thawed, but if you live in the mountain area, I'm so sorry.
It's been
Um,
an experience just having to deal with snow.
mm-hmm. Yep. It's if you're not used to it, it's very treacherous sometimes. So yeah. But we're not here to talk about weather. We're talking about the metaverse today. And we are going to jump right in just because there's so much to cover. And
Mhm.
I know, Ben, you've got a lot to share about the metaverse. So I'm just going to kind of turn things over to you and just what is the metaverse? How should I be using that term? What is it? Where is it? Where is it? What do we
That is a
do?
great question. It is really the best way to think of it is the next phase of the internet. So
Mhm.
if you start to think of the internet occurring in three main segments from about 1976 to about 2004, you and I, users of the internet, were predominantly passive. So we
Yep.
would go home, we would log on, we would look at websites. There'd be a little bit of people who were contributing to the overall internet. So think live journal and the very
Mhm.
basic blogs and the early edition of MySpace. But from about 2004 onwards, we as internet users began to contribute massively to the internet in the
Mhm.
form of social media like Facebook and Twitter,
Mhm.
Instagram. We would be uploading elements of our lives in photos, in events that we would be talking about.
Mhm.
And that is really the start of when we began to have sort of a parallel digital life.
Mhm.
So you would get home from school, and the first thing you would often do is get online and start talking to your friends on Facebook.
Mhm.
And so the physical life that you had from school is over, and you have now entered your digital life through Facebook.
Mhm.
And as technology began to become more and more accessible to more and more people began to create really this digital life, or as we call it, a digital avatar. They got more
Mhm.
Facebook accounts. More people joined Facebook and social media, um, and there was this huge glut of people who were uploading elements of their
Mhm.
lives onto social media, onto a digital platform.
Mhm.
But at the same time that all of this was happening, we also had a significant rise in the amount of physical devices
Mhm.
that were also connecting to the internet in the form of IoT devices and in the form of different sensors and in the form of cameras. And all of these different devices over the last 15 plus years have been generating data and bringing elements of our physical world into a digital world.
Mhm.
And so, what the metaverse is essentially the next step. So, no longer are we going to be connecting through to this digital platform of our digital lives
Mhm.
through a phone or through a computer, but it's going to become far more immersive.
Mhm.
We're mainly seeing people who are using augmented reality and virtual reality as these technologies start to become more and more accessible and
Mhm.
cheaper, but also easier to wear
Yeah.
and easier to spend more time on, then
Mhm.
people start to utilize it in more and more of their daily life.
Absolutely.
So, what the metaverse is, because we have finally gotten to a point where technology is catching up to imagination.
Mhm.
And the metaverse is really the internet, but rather than having to access it through a phone or a tablet, you're accessing it through your everyday life, through the glasses that you wear,
Mhm.
through the, uh, uh, you know, an Apple Watch, maybe a metaverse device in a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
and you and your friends are beginning to have all of these digital interactions alongside the physical world, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to um, going onto a computer and having a Zoom coffee meeting.
Right.
We would instead be donning a VR or an AR headset and having this on a virtual conference room where
Mm-hmm.
everyone who is watching right now would also have a digital avatar and a presence.
Yep.
And so, what the metaverse is it is just the internet in its final form.
Yep.
And you can choose to enter the metaverse or you can choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
It exists parallel alongside our physical world as almost a digital overlay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
as a very, like, that is probably an incredibly high level of what the metaverse is. Uh, but it is continuing to really be defined as really as we speak.
Yeah.
So companies and industries and brands are all starting to get their feet wet in the
Mm-hmm.
metaverse because they see it as it's no longer going to be a metaverse strategy and a digital strategy. It's eventually going to converge into just a metaverse strategy. And
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be I mean, I obviously have seen pictures and renderings of what that looks like, but it's still it feels so big. I
yes,
mean, we've been talking for years now. Our world is getting smaller, and here we are. We're opening up another new world that it almost doesn't have any limits.
it doesn't.
Or,
And the
but at the same
reason,
time,
I mean, the pandemic really did accelerate the metaverse far further than we thought,
Mhm,
because suddenly people who would never utilize digital conferencing software or who would never have to worry about remote working or meeting up with
mhm,
friends through their computers suddenly had to shut down and still wanted to maintain social connections, as
mhm,
well as businesses having to maintain continuity and still continuing to market, because even as we are all shut down, the world continues to spin. We still need to sell, we still need to
mhm,
market, we still need to connect with customers.
mhm,
And what we've begun to learn as the pandemic has set in is the different opportunities that we have to
mhm,
bring in digital elements to um, connect us with our audience, connect us with our customers, and bring the brand story into where your customers are,
mhm,
which can be in their Zoom calls. By if you want to think of just a basic incorporation of digital marketing, having a custom background
mhm,
of your brand is a form of collaborating and marketing through digital means.
mhm.
And what the metaverse is going to do, and as we continue to utilize technology, is it makes everything we do far more immersive, far more
Mhm.
personal,
Sure.
and it also allows you to really innovate and try different ways of connecting with your audience and
Mhm,
of really talking and telling that story of your brand and who you are and why it's important. But it
mhm.
also introduces new monetization opportunities.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
definitely. Oh, yeah.
that's really what we're seeing right now as people begin to explore the metaverse. A lot of big
Mhm,
brands like Nike and Adidas um, are creating digital representations of their
mhm.
products as a way to not just take a step into the metaverse, but to start making money off it. And
Right.
there is a
Yeah.
lot of money to be made in the metaverse.
Mhm.
It's just we're still establishing what the metaverse is, and we're still really just building it up.
Right, right. And I'm also thinking, and it's not something we mentioned before we talked, but I'm just thinking about a previous episode that we did. How do you get There's some businesses, they don't even have a website yet.
Mhm.
They're just still, they have a Facebook page and that's it. How are we going to get those folks to even get over that hump of, I don't want to do digital, period? And now we've got this metaverse thing. How do we talk to those folks and really show them the value?
I mean, it is going to get to a point similar to the internet, where you just simply cannot have a presence on it. So someone
Mhm.
may have a Facebook site, but
Mhm.
that means that they still have a digital presence. They've
Mhm.
still come to accept that this is the platform that I need to be on in order to connect with customers.
Mhm.
And I think when everyone thinks about the metaverse today, they think about putting on a clunky VR headset.
Yeah.
And that is so unappealing, not just to the people who do not want to put on a headset for, at all, to the people who
Mhm.
can't put on a headset, a VR headset, because they happen to have glasses, or they suffer from motion sickness.
Yeah. Mhm.
And, they can't spend time in VR for too long.
Mhm.
And so when we think of the metaverse, we have to stop using the binary of it's either VR or nothing. The metaverse is going to be
Mhm.
a complete integration of our digital lives into our physical world. It's the fusion of digital and physical. And so accessing and shopping the metaverse and collaborating with people and playing with people is going to not just be through VR, but the whole point of the metaverse is that it is technologically agnostic. There
Okay.
is no one, there is ideally, the ideal metaverse is it's completely decentralized. No
Mhm.
business owns the metaverse, no government owns the metaverse.
Mhm.
And when you purchase something on the metaverse, it can be taken regardless of where you are on the metaverse. It is supposed to be able to follow you from platform to platform to platform.
Okay.
And today, that's just impossible due to the huge amounts of legacy code that it takes to say render something in a game.
Mhm.
But as we begin to, and as brands begin to focus on metaverse marketing, they're going to be focusing on the ability to transfer from one metaverse platform to another, to another, to another,
Mhm.
because that's really what a metaverse is.
Right.
Um, so we have metaverses today,
Mhm.
namely in gaming, and social applications.
Yep.
Um, and people can and do, they go onto Roblox or they go onto Fortnite,
Yep.
and they play games, they connect with people. Those are all metaverse experiences on
Mhm.
a metaverse platform, as opposed to the metaverse concept of everything all around us.
Mhm.
And what you do see today, is some brands are beginning to integrate themselves into those particular metaverse platforms. There have been concerts
Mhm.
that have been held on these metaverse platforms. You can purchase land on these metaverse platforms. There is,
Mhm.
I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, there is a platform called Decentraland,
Okay.
which is digital real estate. And Gucci actually bought and set up a virtual store for people to visit.
Oh boy.
Yes.
I'm just thinking shopping now, like, hmm.
Oh, every
I don't
single
have to
industry
drive to
in,
the mall.
you don't have to drive. Look, but you've not had to drive to them all for a while.
This is
You
true.
could
This
do
is true.
anything through your phone. It's just taking that experience
Mhm.
and making it all around you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's still, I'm not surprised by any of this. Obviously, it's a natural progression. This is not
Mhm.
surprising. We were even talking about, like, because I think we're about the same age. And remember, remember, like when we were in high school and we were talking, like learning about the internet and the internet superhighway, and they had all these, different drawings and renderings of people walking around in this internet, and we've just had to wait 20 years,
Yeah,
25 years. So it's, for people our age, it's not a surprise at
it's
all.
not a, it's not a surprise, and it's really in the last couple of years that have made it possible. We've
Mhm.
had to significantly invest in 5G, edge computing,
Yeah.
as well as the public and private clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Because the purpose of the metaverse, just as a concept, is that it can go anywhere with you. And that was not possible only a few years ago, because
Mm-hmm.
the amount of power you would need in order to generate metaverse experiences on the edge, away from a data center,
Yeah.
is huge.
It's huge. It's huge. Did you happen to watch WandaVision?
Yes, I
Yeah.
love
I
WandaVision.
literally just
I'm a
we
Marvel
just
man.
binge watched it in one day. And that this is what I'm thinking of, that we're going to go into the hex, and it's you're going to have your real life and you go into the hex, the metaverse. And
Mhm.
if you've watched WandaVision, it's kind of an interesting concept to
I
see
did.
that in a very large production television show.
My wife and I were actually talking about how the metaverse is going to change our lives,
Mhm.
because she, like a lot of people, approached this with a bit of trepidation, and who
Mhm.
can blame her?
Mhm.
And so I gave the example of, you don't always need to be in the metaverse.
Mhm.
It may always be there, but you don't need to be. And
Mhm.
so we started talking about, well, what if we want to go on a hike? Traversing some of the Pacific Northwest's beautiful trails,
Yeah.
and I don't have to wear my watch. I don't have to wear anything digital on me. I still
Mhm.
experience the world and the physical world, but I
Mhm.
have no metaverse elements attached to me.
Mhm.
At the
Sure.
same time, someone can be walking that exact same trail, have a pair of AR glasses that look exactly like mine, and is getting walking directions, telling them exactly where they need to go, how far they are
Mhm.
until they reach the end. If they want where there's a good place to take a photo, just turn right down here based on what other people have said and based on
Right.
all of the data that we pick up. We
Mhm.
say that this is probably a really good place to take a beautiful scenic shot.
Mhm.
And that is being in a metaverse while at the same time enjoying and experiencing the physical world.
Mhm.
So while metaverse, well, when people do think of metaverse, they think of VR and they think of going into huge different off worlds and having meetings in space or at the bottom of the
Mhm.
sea. Those are all beautiful and wonderful ideas,
Yeah.
but it's not everything about the metaverse. The metaverse
Mhm.
is so much more than just virtual reality, because to me, if it was just virtual reality, it would be so limiting.
Right. Right.
A
Exactly.
metaverse is expansive. It
Mhm.
is always there. It is synchronized with our real world, because you can jump
Mhm.
in and out of it and have digital experiences.
Yep.
Um, and it's really where we're going to start to have our digital lives.
Right. So, based on all of that, I'm seeing, I'm thinking certain industries should really be grabbing onto this immediately.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, healthcare, can do a lot of learning that way,
Yep.
education, real estate. We talked about real estate already, but like physical real estate.
Oh
um,
no, physical real estate.
yeah.
Absolutely. Brands that should get into this are fashion brands. They're
Okay.
the ones who are really leading the way. More the brands that view themselves as part of the cultural zeitgeist.
Hmm.
Because they're the brands who they know they're going to survive
Yeah.
into the metaverse.
Yeah.
Um,
Nike, Adidas, like you said. Hmm.
Exactly. So these are the brands that you have a huge amount of backing behind them, and they're going to still be alive within 5, 10, 15 years. And so
Hmm.
they want to get a start now.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
I think that really any brand can start to get into the metaverse if they want to.
Hmm.
Right now, if unless your customers are there already,
Hmm.
just keep an open mind and keep exploring and seeing different ways in which you can integrate metaverse elements.
Sure.
And I mean, when I say metaverse elements, I'm really talking about digital elements,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
all it is. If you hold, if you sell digital services, you sell metaverse services.
Hmm.
And not just that, your brand can also pivot to be a metaverse brand.
Hmm.
It can start to specialize in metaverse technologies. Or if you're an event planner, you can start
Yes.
to plan events in the metaverse. Conferences are going to
Hmm.
continue to be held in the
Hmm.
metaverse.
Market
Uh,
mix.
yes, everything. And with all of that comes the digital twin of whatever we may have in the physical world. You will have a
Mhm.
digital twin of it in the metaverse.
Right.
And a digital twin is really, it is anything that is a digital representation of something in the physical world.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
And yeah, it's, a lot of companies right now, just in order to get in on the metaverse, they're making what are called NFTs, non-fungible tokens,
yep.
which are essentially just digitized items. The
Mhm.
Gap just announced that they were going to be selling a bunch of NFTs,
Of course. Yeah.
and that it would actually be tying those NFTs
Mhm.
to physical items of clothing.
Yep.
And so, once again, here's where we have a confluence of the physical and the digital. So,
Mhm.
if I buy a sweater from the Gap in 5, 10 years, I will buy a digital twin of it, ideally, also for my avatar, who would be able to wear it across whatever board meeting I was going into, or whatever game I was playing. And so being able to really bring in the physical and the digital across all of the different platforms, like across Facebook's metaverse platform, or across
Mhm.
Twitter's metaverse platform, or across Roblox or Fortnite or whatever is going to be coming in the future, or
Mhm.
even say Microsoft's metaverse platform, because Microsoft's idea of the metaverse is less so much creating an entire physical world, but more connecting all of the disparate metaverses that
Mhm.
companies and organizations are going to be creating.
Yeah.
Um, and so when we get to the metaverse, the whole concept is bring the physical into the digital, bring the digital into the physical. And marketers and companies and brands, their biggest opportunity now is to understand more about what the metaverse is and how
Mhm.
they can incorporate their business and services and products into the metaverse. Um, but it's also an opportunity for you to see whether or not you might want to move into sort of a metaverse sort of role,
Sure,
because
sure.
those are also opening up quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a whole new job, isn't it? That we're
Hmm.
job set that we're creating. So it sounds as though if you're a company and you're interested in the metaverse, but you're just not quite sure what to do yet, you should be observing and
Hmm.
and kind of writing out your strategy like you would normally a campaign. But don't just jump in for the sake of jumping in because you're going to bungle yourself, really.
Look,
Yeah.
some brands are going to look for some. Look, I mean, for some brands, it's a good strategy simply because it allows them to introduce themselves to a new audience.
Hmm.
Because the majority of people who are in the metaverse right now, or metaverse worlds, are the younger ages, Gen X,
Hmm.
and Gen Z. No, it's now
Yeah.
the
Z.
Zillennials. Yeah, Gen Z. Excuse me. Um, and people who are really just playing games and enjoying
Mhm.
themselves. And so there's really nothing wrong with getting in and seeing what it's all about, as well as
Mhm.
introducing yourself to a new audience.
Mhm.
But unless your customers are already there, you don't need to invest a huge amount of money and resources. I would say
Mhm.
probably for at least another year or so, when you
Okay.
should start to um, make a push to digitize everything you have, if it can
Mhm.
be digitized.
Sure. Sure. So speaking of that, like we were talking about industries that should be adopting it like ASAP or in the next year. Are there any industries that should I mean, you said, digitize everything, but do you see, I mean, is there any industry, any company type that would be like that's not going to work for them? Or it's like, no, everybody should be doing this event like in the next 5, 10 years.
There, I can't think of an industry which shouldn't at least look into the metaverse um, as a possibility, because you open yourself up to so many opportunities.
Mhm.
So we were talking about real estate,
Mhm.
but we can also look at, if anyone ever decides to take a cruise again, you can choose, before you buy cruise tickets, to take a virtual tour of a cruise ship.
Okay.
and see what your room will look like in real time.
Mhm.
Um, we've just moved into a new home, and so one thing we've been doing is using the Amazon and the IKEA app to
Yeah.
imagine what different pieces of furniture look like in our home.
Mhm.
The next step forward in that is donning a VR headset, a lightweight VR headset, and seeing our entire home decked out in IKEA furniture, and then just being able to touch a button and
Mhm.
order it. And
Right.
then when it arrives, I have AR instructions built into my glasses that show how someone puts it together. Right there, step by step.
Yeah. Wow. That I can see definitely helping a lot of people. Just the how to. My gosh. I mean, how in the last, well, almost 2 years, because lockdown started almost 2 years ago, we've all learned at least one new skill, huh? I learned how to make sourdough bread. I was part of that whole group and a few other skills that I picked up, and we were all watching videos. YouTube. Hi, we're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Um, but this definitely takes it to another level. I'm the type of learner. It's not so much I need somebody next to me. I need to make sure that I'm doing it the same way as the instruction.
Mhm.
And by doing that in the metaverse, that just sounds natural. It sounds natural even though it's in a virtual world. But being able to be, say even next to the teacher and I'm far away, but it's an amazing teacher and they're teaching me how to, make bread
Yeah.
or ballet or something. So
And
amazing.
as the technology gets smaller, it will be easier to create digital content.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Um, and so the metaverse relies as much on creators as it does on brands,
Mhm.
because I mean the younger generation, the Gen Z, they're already in a metaverse,
Mhm.
and the integration of the metaverse into their physical lives is just going to seem like a natural progression of their technology.
Mhm.
And so
Absolutely.
they're going to keep doing as they always do, which is creating digital content for TikTok and Facebook and YouTube. But it will become far more immersive. They may be standing there with you, talking to you, as opposed
Mhm.
to you consuming it on a screen.
Mhm.
And so, what the metaverse is it is all about personalization.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
And I think if I was going to say something for brands who are looking at exploring the metaverse, really understand what your customers want, what your audiences want, and create a bespoke experience for them
Mhm.
that tells your brand's story. So if you're like Gucci, it can be setting up a virtual store on a metaverse world where people can come in and browse and
Mhm.
watch House of Gucci if they want to. Who doesn't love Lady Gaga?
Right?
But for now, being able to tell your brand story on the metaverse is
Mhm.
what it's going to be. It
Yeah.
is not going to be about staking claims to
Mhm.
land. It's not as much going to be about bringing all of these flash bang experiences and who can do the best
Mhm.
job here.
Yeah.
It's going to be what it always is in marketing, and that is connecting with a person
Yep.
on their level,
Yep.
telling them the story about your brand, but more importantly, about how your brand can help them, how it can
Exactly.
help them solve a business problem, how it can
Right.
help them make their lives just a little bit easier,
Mhm.
or live life to the fullest by buying this awesome new Nike pair of shoes.
Exactly. And how many of those brands have their own communities already? Like Harley Davidson is a big one,
Mhm.
that's trust me, that's a whole community. And I'm just picking on them because of that and their identity with a certain group of customers and just their community is already there. They already meet in person. But I'm from Wisconsin where the company is built. There's winter,
Mhm.
so you can't really ride your bike like half the year. But in this metaverse, you can still meet up and you can still go to a dealership. You can still kind of check out the new stuff, still being safe. And then the other thing with my retail background, I'm thinking this might, put a damper on shoplifting.
Yeah.
If you're in the metaverse, there's nothing physical that you can like take from the store. And I think retailers should really, really embrace that. If they want customers to come in, but they're worried of, ooh, we might lose something or something breaks, you've got an audience already there in person, but they're not in person virtually. There's so many
And
opportunities, like you've been saying, and it's
yeah,
just it makes my brain tingle.
as we begin to reimagine the retail experience, because as you're saying, stores are, I mean, look at the Gap. They just launched into NFTs, but they closed something like 300 stores last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're receding their physical presence, but they're significantly investing in their digital one,
Mm-hmm.
because it is easier for them to maintain a continuous digital store that anyone in the world can come and visit and order things from. Now,
Mm-hmm.
realistically, that's their website. They already have that. It is just
Right.
about taking the website experience, turning it into what feels like a physical shopping experience, but never actually leaving their home. So rather
Mm-hmm.
than browsing the pages of products, you're browsing aisles.
Right. Which for some people, shopping for clothes is a big deal and not in a good way. I'm one of those shoppers where it's so frustrating sometimes to just find a certain top or something like that. And then when you're shopping online currently, like we have, you can see a picture
Mm-hmm.
that helps. But if we're in the metaverse and I can still try on that top, you've made my life easier. You've made
Yeah.
my life easier because I didn't have to leave my house. I didn't have to browse through a website and see maybe I like that top. I get it home and I don't like it. I have to send it back. Whereas if I'm in the metaverse, I'm in Gucci, right? Like I can afford that. I'm trying on a top. I know in the metaverse that that top is either going to fit or not fit. And that's going to help my buying decisions.
Yeah.
And think of like how much that might actually reduce in shipping costs, because if something's not like we're in that time now where, oh, if it doesn't fit or if I don't like it, I'll just send it back. But now I'm hearing there are customer or companies that are saying, you know what, we'll refund you, you didn't want it, but you know what, keep it, because we don't want to deal with those shipping costs or holding it or storing it or doing something with it, and it might go into a landfill. So I can see a lot of, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see less waste.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And as once again, all of this relies on technologies becoming smarter and more advanced and
Hmm.
smaller, which, just based on Moore's law, it's sort of meant to.
Yeah.
But as it becomes easier and easier and easier for us to create these metaverse experiences,
Hmm.
and for us to integrate elements of shopping and retail and everything into the metaverse, it's
Hmm.
just going to it's going to be seem just so much more natural,
Hmm.
because it'll be a
Yep.
part of our everyday life.
Right.
But also, once again, you can choose not to participate into the metaverse,
Mhm.
but it will get to a point uh, uh, of no return where it is just easier to integrate yourself into the metaverse
Mhm.
because every single pair of glasses that you buy will be metaverse glasses,
Right,
um,
exactly.
and every single piece of jewelry that you start to put on will have a digital representation or a digital twin
Mhm.
on it, and so you're now buying two products for the price of one.
Exactly, exactly, and there are so many businesses out there, small businesses, they rely on word of mouth,
Mm-hmm.
which will still happen in the metaverse, but if you don't have any digital tracking, how are they gonna find you?
Yep.
If you can't be found on Google Maps right now, you're gonna set yourself up for failure in the future. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, this is so much. I know we could keep going for like another 5 hours easy and then take a break and go for another 9 hours.
That'd be fun.
Right? But we're not gonna. Not this time. Not this time. But we went over a few minutes, but I want to give you like a couple minutes to discuss anything we didn't, or to highlight anything that you really feel is important to the audience.
um, I think two things. Number one, it's all just about experiences.
Mhm.
And that is the same no matter what platform you're on, no matter what technology you're using. It's about experiences and storytelling. And
Mhm.
that is just the basis of marketing from the early days of telling people about fire.
Right.
But I think, secondly, because you're dealing with the digital world, you and your brand need to have robust cybersecurity protections, and a robust cybersecurity portfolio, just to keep your customer and company data protected.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Entering the metaverse does open you up to a much wider attack surface, because there is so much of a digital representation of a company that you can do. You also need to make sure that everything, especially your customer data, is secure.
Always.
Always.
Always. Yeah, that's something we didn't talk about, but that's definitely high level. Yeah, starting now, make sure your customer data is good and that
Healthy,
you have,
hygiene, make sure that you're always refreshing your,
yes.
you've got good data hygiene,
And
um,
permission.
and permission.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, make sure everything is just locked down tight.
Right. And it's going to become more and more important as we go further into this. So as we get more and more customers are born every day, and things just shift over. So kids that are being born like today, they're going to be pretty much born, almost born into the metaverse. By the time they hit kindergarten, they'll be like, yeah, what's up?
They're going to be educated through the metaverse. They're
Hmm.
going to shop and collaborate and play, and a lot
Sesame
of their,
Street.
exactly. We don't really know how long this is all, how far, what the end result is. But it's really fun finding out for me.
It is because, and like before we go, I mean, do you think this is going to be the end all be all? Because I mean, humanity can go for, well, depending on how things go in the next 5 years. You know, do you think the metaverse will be the end all be all, or do you think there could be something else? Maybe in 100 years or something.
I think that depends on humanity.
Good point.
Technology is just technology. It's what we create and how we use it. Everything we do, even the metaverse itself, depends upon humanity saying, this is what we're going to do, and we should really put these safeguards in place to make sure that it doesn't become a
Hmm.
um, something horrible.
Right, right. You mean the safeguards that we should have put in place for the internet 20 years ago?
That'd be nice. Now that we know just how badly the world can go, let's make sure that the virtual one isn't anything like we've had so
Yep.
far.
Let's start clean. Let's start fresh. Oh my gosh. Like I said, we could keep going. We could talk about this for a long time. And I'm sure there will be opportunities to bring you back and talk more about, how has it progressed, in 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, because we're probably going to be surprised. There's going to be,
Yeah.
two, three things that are like, wow, nobody saw that coming.
Well, that's the one thing I love about technology, is the fact that the person who creates it doesn't necessarily know how it's going to be used.
Right?
And I hate to go over for just one thing.
Go
Is
for it.
an example of that is a father who had an autistic child who was unable to control the volume of his voice,
Mhm.
and what the father found was that, because the child couldn't notice how loud he was getting, he was able to use the feature on his watch to show just how, whether or not you're in a dangerous amount of loud space,
Mhm.
whether or not you're hurting your ears, and the
Mhm.
child is able to use that to modulate his own
Mhm.
voice,
Right.
because he can see, based on this little line saying you're
Mhm.
being too loud. And I can
Right.
only imagine that that is not something that anyone who was creating the Apple Watch, or even that feature on the Apple Watch, thought it would be
Mhm.
used for.
Right.
But we utilize technology to improve our lives, and that's what the metaverse is going to be.
Gosh, it's gonna be so exciting.
Or terrifying, just depends on the people.
Oh no, I'm terrified as all can be, but I'm still very excited. It's suspenseful. Yeah, I would love to bring you back. Say 6 months to a year, see where the metaverse is, what's happening, what brands are leading, what brands made a boo boo. Maybe we can talk about that,
Yeah,
because I'm sure
entirely
somebody's
possible.
going to make a boo boo and it's going to be
Oh, they
funny,
will.
and we're all going to learn from it. Hopefully, it's not me. Um, Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Ben. And I really, really appreciate you talking about the metaverse and really helping me get into it because before today, I didn't know very much. So I learned a lot, and I hope everyone in the audience did as well.
And if you'd like, I'm more than happy to come back and talk whenever you want me.
Perfect, perfect. We'll discuss the details later.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Ben. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Cheers. Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks. Have a good one.